An often overlooked but powerful feature in TypeScript is the so-called infer keyword to extract certain type information from existing one and create new types from it. So let's figure out how we can use this in our own code. So let's say we have a function here, and this takes two parameters, a and b. And this returns a number, and we say a plus b. Now, this is a really simple function, but let's think about if you have a much more complex function and you want to extract just certain type information from this function. So let's say we have a type here, add, and now we say type of our add function. Now, in TypeScript, we receive the whole interface of this function as its new type. So in JavaScript, it would only be a string with function in it, but here in TypeScript, we really have the advantage of the types and we receive the whole interface. So what we now can do is, let's say we want to extract the return type of this function. We can say return type, and as we can see, this is so-called built-in type from TypeScript, and we can pass it our type as a generic argument, and we can see we got back the number. Now, how does this work? Well, if I change this here from number to string, I get back the string. So TypeScript is using infer under the hood to achieve such types. Now, let me show you how we can do this and create our own return type. So let's say we have a my return type here, and we just also have to pass in a generic argument, a generic type. And now what we can do is we can say if this t we pass in extends a function which takes any amount of arguments and returns anything. In this case, we just return any, otherwise we return never. So let's take a look into what we are really doing here. We are doing a so-called conditional type. So what we do here is we pass in any type we'd like, and then we do some type checking. We say, okay, if this t we pass in is in the shape of this of a function basically, which takes any amount of arguments and can return anything. We do not really care what it does. In this case, we return this any type here. Otherwise, we return never, because this is something which we will not consider returning anything if this is not a function type we pass in. Now, we can see here, if I change this here from return type to my return type, it still compiles, but we only get back any for our add type. Now, how can we fix this? We can use the infer keyword. Now, where can you use infer? Infer you can only use in extends clauses, so you can only use it in this part of the code. So what we now can do is we can say, okay, we want to extract the type information at the any position here. So when we have our return type, we can say infer, and then we say which variable we want to save this in. So we say we want to save it in the variable r, and now we just have to return it like this. And now we can see on line 8, now we get the number back. So if I change this here to a string, I get back a string. So this way we can use the infer keyword to extract the type information at specific points in our specific locations in our code we want and create new types from it. And this will prove really useful, especially in future videos where we will talk about recursion. There we will use infer extensively to recursively call into functions in certain cases.